Yeah, it's Sunday, and I'm on the side of a hill on a bench. The Liverpool bench was always, as always, 10 minutes too late. So I had a rest down there, and I was like, "Oh, a bench." I was like, "Oh, I have lunch here." But I was like, "Where were you 5 minutes ago?" Um, it's it's kind of a weird day. I mean, the weather's been really all over the shop today and last night. Last night we had thunderstorms. Everyone's going about, oh, it's so hot, and I was reading all these things, and I'm melting in London, and it's like it's literally pelting it down. And my tent actually partially collapsed during the night. One of the things it pulled out the peg. Not just the thing came off the peg, it pulled the peg out. That's how high the winds were, and my because I wasn't expecting the high winds, my tent wasn't. It was configured in the kite mode where it collects wind to cool me down, not in the sort of like there's a where you have to lower the tent down, reduce the wind under the fly sheet. So at 4 in the morning, that's what I was doing in the rain, and I also found that even though it was blowing a fucking gale, though weirdly sporadically, like there'd be squalls come through and it would be fine, and the rain would stop, and then there'd be another one through. And there'd been one like 12 o'clock, and what had happened is I'd fallen asleep. I actually did a video of it. Although, actually, annoyingly, the video you can hear the pelting rain and you can see this, but you actually can't see the tent swaying around because that literally it just stopped after when I started recording. But I was like swaying a lot. I was like going, uh oh. I fell asleep again, and then like 4 in the morning, it was like I heard the sound of flapping, and I was like, oh crap! I knew what had happened, so I had to go and get dressed and go out and get drenched, sort of securing the tent. Today it's like a hazy day, hazy fantasy, which is weird because I can never remember a hazy fantasy song. Every hazy fantasy song I think of, I usually think of Catch Guru or I think of Strawberry Switchblade. So yeah, it's kind of very hazy sort of. It's weird. It said cloudy, sunny, and it's been a weird mix of kind of like sometimes it's boilingly hot sunny, but you can see all this sort of haze in the distance. And sometimes, like now, it's actually quite nice and cool with a breeze, and it's a bit kind of foggy. But I like this. I'm liking this much more for walking than yesterday, which was just oppressively hot. So yeah, I'm walking to Salcombe Mouth. It's not Sid something. It's in the last podcast. Sidbury, Sidford, Sidmouth. It's all the same thing almost. It's not. I know locals will shout at me. Not many locals are listening to this, and they'd probably have their ears burning if they did. We've got I think we're on 4 cars now, or is it 5 cars have shouted at me. I haven't been wearing my headphones on this trip, so I'm actually hearing them, and. Yeah, I don't think they're people from outside. So either the locals really hate backpackers, or they think I'm army, which is bullshit. Since although my backpack is green, I've got a beard, and I'm not wearing a uniform. Or they are just dicks. And it's weird because when people listen to this, or I've had people listen, hear my rants about the neighbours, and they go, "Oh, oh, it's so funny," or "Oh, you'll stop whinging." And I don't seem to understand. It's like what you hear is a little tiny pinnacle. Those are the worst examples, or examples that really piss me off. As someone as neurodiverse, it's kind of had 5 decades of this shit. It's like, and I just reached this point where it's like no fucks are given anymore. Fuck you if you have a problem with me. And I don't think people realise how much of a possible. Well, not. I don't think I've got a justice sensitivity, so I'm not becoming a monster. But it's just frustrating because it's like you try and play everything down. You try and be. Was that rain? Nice to people, or they've been crapped on by a bird. One or two. Could be that. You try and hide who you are and dampen down who you are, and try and please people and whatever. It doesn't work. They still don't like you for some reason you don't understand. It's like trying to enter a competition in a race where you don't know what the rules are. And it's been particularly upsetting in the last sort of maybe 5-10 years, because it's like you just see this sort of thing where it's like, well, these people you thought you were friends and they're not. they're actually just using you or gaslighting you. And as soon as you turn around and go, actually, not in a nasty way, just go, these are my boundaries, and it gets nasty. And it's like, oh my God. I mean, if I ever went into therapy, oh my God, these people would have completely exploded. If I could then respond and say, oh, that's what you're doing. Yeah, they would. I mean, that'd be really annoying. But I might do it just to really piss people off. I might just do it and start lecturing people on psychology and say, you'll find you're doing this. But I'm trying to understand myself more. That's what we're trying to do here, rather than weaponize it. But it is just unlike what they did. So yeah, when I do moan about this or that, I mean, it's like last night. Right, I could see the lightning storms in the distance, and it's really mad. And when the campsite is right by the donkey sanctuary, and the donkey sanctuary, all the donkeys start braying, and the dogs would go off in the campsite, and I'm like going, that's the low frequency rumbles, because we can't hear when thunder's a really long way away. We can't hear it, but it's got low. I think it's infrasound. Or even maybe you might be picking up electromagnetics off it, and so animals tend to go a bit like with earthquakes, go a bit kind of like nuts at that because they can hear it, we can't. And so I was like, that's south of here, 50 miles, 40 miles, whatever. It hit about midnight. It was supposed to hit at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then you had that weird wind and rain squalls. The rain was fine. All the wind, if I had prevented advanced warning, it's just like this weird suddenly wind that sort of kicks in. And so before this I was like, I'll get I needed to get some washing done and then to get some drying done, and I actually had got not enough pound coins, so I asked someone for change, and the man said, and I quote, haven't we all gone cashless now? And it was just like the combination of complete deafness to my request, also erasing my request, and also privilege, because it was obviously middle class. And even better, I think he was a member of there's a large group of a tent with a dog that not just barks at people, growls very menacingly, like not hackle stuff, not just like woof woof woof. We're talking, and I have to avoid. And I was so flabbergasted by that response, and I was just like, no one's told, I wasn't as witty as saying no one's told the washer or the tumble dryer this, but I said, the washer and tumble dryer are, they're using coins. It's bullshit, obviously, because coins are used for all kinds of things still. I mean, we're not going to suddenly go cashless overnight, and I don't think it's probably a good idea, because there's a whole bunch of people who can't get bank accounts, there's a whole bunch of people there's a whole economy of people who, and also it's, I don't really want, every single company knowing, you used a washing machine here and you'd use this here and this here. It's bad enough with the tracking on the travels here, So I don't want to know every single moment about my life. It's a bit like, because then your bank account becomes basically just, who needs the MI6 when you're just looking at a fucking bank account, see where you are. But yes, so yeah, I was just so side-axed by that. Anyway, but the fact he was I think part of that tent with the annoying dog was just like, oh yeah, one of those, and there's been quite a few of those, and it's just being, I think, neurodiverse in a neurotypical world, and it's always been a thing where I've always been treated different, so it's kind of, and I used to always try and minimise that difference, and it just doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work. You end up being really unhappy, and I just got to this point where I was like, I may as well be a grumpy old man now at 50, because if the choice is between meeting other people's expectations, failing, and then being, I'm unhappy, they're unhappy, no one's happy, or just saying, I'm going to do this, and try and make sure it's not being a dick, but I'm just going to do what I need to do, and please don't get in my way. Which sounds a bit horrible, but it's like earlier, I always step aside for people on the steps going down to things or whatever, or on the path, if there's not much space. And there was this super chatty, I assume, daughter with her mother, and I said, afternoon, and the mother, the daughter didn't even look at me, and the mother was just looked at me like, I don't know, and didn't say anything. I was like, well, okay. Next time I'll charge past you then. I didn't say that to them, but I was just like, next time I'll just do what I need to do. Because, I was waiting there for ages, just waiting to come down the things. Because, there's no space for me to really get past with my pack and everything. And it's just that kind of consideration, which is, I just feel you just don't, there's been a few examples on the trip where there's been, a few nice, like, lift yesterday, and, that guy that gave me some water, Irish Mel, which is lovely, and I hold on to those as good examples of people paying it forward and being nice to each other. But there's a lot of this, and then I have the ableist bullying on top of it. So it's not just Tim is whinging about people on a campsite and it's nuts in mace. It's much more than that. But yes, I did an artwork. Maybe I got into psychology today, and I actually did an artwork. Yay, I did an art. Probably the only one to do today if it's going to be this hazy shade of summer. Yeah. But it turns out that the campsite has a view of the Salcombe Bottom, or Salcombe Mouth. It's not called Salcombe Bottom. Well, it probably is called Salcombe Bottom, actually. It's always called bottoms of the valleys here, but I think they might be called mountains. And of the church, which I stumbled on as I said, the open day of the church yesterday. I think it's Church of St Mary and St Peter. And so I did it very similar to the one I did from Lorworth Castle years ago. I did a technical pen and watercolour of that view, which will be the artwork for this podcast most likely. No, it's quite good. Although it was, because of the haze, it was an experiment. I'm not totally happy with it. An experiment in that it's really. I've said this before about mists, and when I was at Osmington, I was at Cannington, and trying to, when you had those weird sort of clouds come down, so it's sun above and clouds below, but you had this sort of cloud layer, and you had quite a lot of mist, and things would go in and out of mist. It's actually really, really difficult to paint, because it's possible, but the problem is not so much doing it lighter. If it's lighter in watercolours, it looks brighter in a way. So, like, if you show more white at the paper, it looks like it's sunny. The difficulty is dulling down the colours, and there are ways of doing it, and I used a few of them, but it still looks a bit murky to me. I still pulled away some of the colour, because, not only was I wearing shades, it always makes it more brighter than it should be, because I'm wearing shades, and I probably should have taken them off. But it was fairly sunny then. Not now, not so now. But I'm liking this. I'm liking this dull grey, though if it gets really foggy and I can't find the path, that might be interesting. But yeah, it's just that sort of the greying out of the background. Like, at the moment, I'm looking at where I was walking over yesterday, Dunscone Cliffs. It was quite fucking tall. I didn't realise how tall that was. And in the background, I can see there's a headland that's actually in sunlight behind, which is probably, what would that be? It could be, where would that be? Anyway, there is a headland behind it. One of the ones I've walked before. One of the ones I've walked previously. It's probably could be Charmouth, or somewhere around there. But you've got somewhere, sort of towards Lyme Regis Way. There's a headland out there, which is and which I've painted in the distance, and it's sort of appearing to the mist very gently, and that is really hard to do in watercolour, to express that sort of very, very light thing. It is possible, but it takes a lot of water control, and I'm trying to learn that. So it was a good practice in that, but difficult when you are trying to do a quick pace to do something that looks like that. And it's interesting, the mist is really coming down now. I think I should move on before I ends up with a sort of a durdle door stroke golden cap situation where the top is like fog, mist. Though actually, as I say, I did bring extra layers because of course I knew the weather is completely crazy today. So I'll be fine, but I'm actually really enjoying the cold. Well, it's not cold, but it's sort of, much chillier today. Like, I was at the moment, it's like 15, 20, probably a bit lower with this, compared to the 30 plus yesterday. I'm loving this greatly for walking. I'm not sure I'm going to head to Sidmouth. I need to try and pick up a gas canister if I get there in time, because my gas canister is getting low. There is one in the shop that I can use. It's a Coleman Extreme, which is like I don't need it to work in Arctic temperatures, really. But I can use that one if I have to. And then I don't know how I feel about it. I might go on to Otterton, but the problem is I probably have to walk back because of the bus situation. Though I have worked out how to do that, because it turns out that the buses will go from Budley Salterton really late, but only to I think it's Exmouth, and then you can take the train from Exmouth to Exeter, and then I can get the 9A back. It's a bit of a kind of going one step backwards, one step forwards thing. But anyway, I'll speak to you soon. Well, I've got my gas canister in Sidmouth. I looked for a new water bottle, but they're all the useless type with, weird, funny tops. They spent thousands of years inventing the bottle, and then some clever person goes, "Oh, I can do better." No, just flat top. Means I can, it doesn't leak in my bag. I can open it. I can lay it down and then use it as a thing for my watercolour. Perfect. The reason is because I found that those cheap, or probably any hard, rigid water bottles don't freeze very well. They just crack. I was thinking it was more like a bottle of water, which I actually brought with me today. A frozen bottle of water, which was really lovely. Even though, actually, it wasn't as hot today, but it's quite refreshing, especially when you have really hot making. Oh, lovely breeze. Oh, sorry, I've got to the top of Peak Hill after Sidmouth, and I know I'm breaking my rules about not going out like I've done in the past, like 5, sort of 3, 4, on extending a walk. But because the conditions are so perfect for walking, not perfect for art because it's hazy. I mean, it's sort of like it's not foggy up here, but it's you can see the fog just on the hill. So not perfect for that, but totally perfect for walking. And so what I'm going to do is keep going until I get to Otterton. I don't think I'll make Budley Salterton today, but there's earthworks on here. So it's like Marrow Hill. All these high hills along here seem to all have, and Golden Cap all have Neolithic chisel on them. There's a local archaeologist, Peter Orlando Hutchinson. Only a Victorian would have a middle name like Orlando. I wonder his inspiration for the book. I don't know. But so yes, I'm walking to Ladram Bay. I'm going to see how it is. It's enough. Wow, I think that'd be a great scene if I could see it. I can just see looming rocks in the mist. I actually quite like it, but yeah, there's more haze up here than down there. So maybe I'll be able to see more when I get a bit further down. I like it. If it gets too foggy, I'll bail as well. But I had a look at the maps and the buses, and there is a way home. I think I mentioned this before. Weirdly, until quite late, there's buses going from Budley Salterton, Budley Saltley. If I get that far, not Budley Salterton, Budley Saltley. I think it's Budley Saltley. going to Exmouth, but the ones going to Sidmouth leave, stop like quite early. So I can always go to Exmouth, take a bus or train to Exeter, and then catch the 9, which runs till really late. And I can walk, just that lovely walk I did last night, mile walk or so up that horrible hill, or get a taxi if I get to Sidmouth or that area, or from early enough the 9A, but I think the last one leaves about 7 from Exeter, so it's unlikely. But what I think I'm going to do is, when it gets to about 6ish, I'll just turn around and walk inland on the roads, which should be easier and quicker. Looks like there's small roads connecting Otterton and various other places to Sidmouth. As long as I get to Sidmouth for 8 o'clock, that's the last bus back to mine. That'll be fine. If not, I'll probably not. I'll either walk it or get a taxi. It's only a couple of miles. I doubt if that late I wouldn't do it. I could do the coastal walk, but I have got my torch, but it's a little bit uppy downy. Although then again, so I was walking up bloody Salcombe Hill, so it's yeah. So we'll see how far we get. As this might be a mistake, but I looked at, when there's nothing around the coast and I've got little water, I worry. I've got all that refills, a litre and a half of water now, maybe a bit less. I've had a big little gulp of it back there, and there seems to be civilization nearby, places, things, villages to head for. Then I'm a bit less worried, especially as you kind of like we're in between Exmouth and Sidmouth, and it's not kind of like, I think Budley, Saltley, whatever it's called, is 5 miles away. Otterton, the first turn off to Otterton is about 2 miles, less than 2 miles away. Well, it was back there, so it'll be less now. So that seems achievable. And I know there's some uppy downies. I think a lot of it's fairly mild, but I've said that before. I think Danger Point, there's a place called Danger Point, and I know that is, well, it's called Danger Point. It might be like a Monty Python bunny rabbit. It might actually be Danger Point, and there's nothing dangerous about it. But we'll walk on for a bit, because I know it's going to rain tomorrow, and if I can get to Otterton, that means tomorrow I can just skip Sidmouth entirely. So I had a very nice ice cream in Sidmouth. There's a near the front, seafront, there's a really nice homemade gelato place. They got a double waffle cone with salted caramel and what was it, pistachio. Oh, it's lovely. The only problem I found was it's a little bit difficult filling water bottles while one hand is grabbing an ice cone. Especially even with my tape modification, I had to put tape on it. They wouldn't have seen that because I mentioned it in the videos I couldn't upload because YouTube cancelled my channel. But yes, I've got these cheap. They're pretty good actually. They're made from PET though, so they're like bottles. They might survive being frozen. I'm going to try those. Because I think PET expands. The sort of you can normally put water bottles in the thing, whereas the Flying Tiger one, which broke, was some kind of weird unknown plastic. But the problem is they've got very slippy tops. There isn't any serration or anything on the tops, so it's sometimes hard to reopen them. So I put tape on them. But as I say, you really need 2 hands still. So yeah. No, this is much like it. This is better. It's all flat, this bit. It's all nice and cool, and unfortunately you can't see very much. Well, you can see enough. I can see the distance, I can see the fields. I can't see, I can even see the sea. Oh, it's probably the river, which is, maybe it's the sea. But, so yes, for a recce, for artwork, it's not necessarily the best thing, but I've got to this point of this project where I'm like, let's just get this done as quickly as possible and go home. Which I know is not the best attitude, but the end is in sight. I've done Sidmouth. Exmouth is next. If I have to, I think there's a campsite at Budley Saltley, or whatever the fuck it's called. Budley Salterton, or whatever. Budley what's it? And there are some campsites around Exmouth. I don't know if they're still running this time of year, but when I did my recce years ago, I did notice there was a campsite. The only problem with, actually no, what I didn't know back then is there's a bus that goes to Budley. So the 157 and the 357, and so yeah, we've got. It's actually quite, because I think initially I was thinking, the buses go across the top. How do I get there? I'm gonna have to schlep all my shit for miles from the road. Actually, no. There's a bus that goes there, but you have to know about it, and you have to know about Stagecoach, which at that point I was thinking more First Bus and X Valley and all that lot. But yes, there's two buses that go there, so they're good. Is it raining? I hope so. I'm being attacked. Maybe I'm being attacked by pesties. Might not be great. Yes, I did bring on my poncho and everything, and I'd after being boiled yesterday, I'm more than happy to be rained on. I think I'll get my mush tomorrow, but I'll be actually in the tent. But hopefully the tent is still there when I get back. Hasn't been blown away. I left my big battery charging with the person in the office, so hopefully I've got 100% on that, which should take me a few, because I'm seriously operating on fumes with this phone, and I shouldn't really be recording this. So I'd better sign off, and I'll speak to you hopefully from Otterton, or from next day when I'm starting from Otterton. Okay, speak to you soon.